much for joining me. Today I'm really happy to share with you a fun card inspiration featuring the Simon Says stamp Believe in the Season release. I'm really excited for this release because there's a lot of really great holiday products that you'll be able to use for both your winter and holiday projects. I'm going to be creating this card today, which has a really fun kind of retro feel to it. This was kind of the direction I wanted to go with this particular card because the image is from this stamp set, which is from Color Me Trees. I really thought these had a really cool, fun, kind of funky retro feel to them. So I thought it would be really great to kind of make this card have that same type of feel. Now, you'll see I'm going to stamp out a few of the different trees. However, I'm only going to be using just one of the trees. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use at the time I started off with this card, so I wanted to go ahead and stamp a few, so that way I could go ahead and decide as I went along. Now, I'm just stamping these trees with some Simon Says Stamp Clear ink. I'm stamping these onto white cardstock, and you saw me prep the cardstock with my EK Success powder tool. This is because I'm going to be heat embossing these trees, and I want to make sure that I cut down on any static cling that might be on the paper. I'm going to go ahead and stamp all three of the trees, and you can see that this third tree that I'm stamping here, this is the one I ended up using on my card. I can just save these leftover trees that I didn't end up using for another card later on. After I applied the embossing powder, which is some Ranger Superfine embossing powder in white, I'll go ahead and heat set these images to get a beautiful white on white embossed image. Now I went ahead and die cut these trees using the coordinating Color Me Tree dies. You'll notice I die cut quite a few of each tree, and this is because I wanted to be able to layer these up to create a more stiffer and dimensional tree. You can see here a close-up look of how I had stacked these up, very similar to how I stack up word dies to create a more dimensional sentiment. This is the same type of concept, but instead of a sentiment, I'm creating an embellishment. Now to do this, I needed to add adhesive to the back side of each of these, and I thought it'd be really easy and quick to go ahead and run these through my Xyron sticker maker. I sometimes forget I actually have this, and so don't always pull it out as often as I should, but it's really easy to go ahead and slip these trees into the Xyron sticker maker. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure you burnish that transfer paper really well onto your die-cut images because that's going to make sure that you don't have any leftover adhesive on that little backing sheet left over onto the die-cut trees itself. So I'll go ahead and remove these from the backing sheet, and then there you can see we have all of our trees ready to go. Now I can just go ahead and peel these off of the sticker sheet because they're just like stickers now, and I'll go ahead and stack these up on top of each other. Now you'll notice I have 3 here. I'm going to end up stacking one more on the back side of this sticky die cut. I did not run the 4th one through my Xyron sticker maker because of course this one is going to be on the back side, so we don't want any adhesive on it. So I stacked up 3 and then I went ahead and stacked up a 4th one off camera. Now I quickly colored these in with my Zig Cling color markers. I didn't add any water to this because I'm doing this onto cardstock. But I wanted to show you that if you have the Zig Cling color markers and maybe don't have any watercolor paper, but you want to be able to use these, you can use these on cardstock. You're not going to be able to do any watercoloring as easily because the marker is going to soak into the paper, and cardstock isn't meant to be watercolored on, so the paper will pill. However, these markers are really great for adding quick coloring onto paper, which is what I was going for here. So I just used a variety of different green shades to add in some coloring onto each section of these trees, and then I also used a brown marker to go ahead and color in the trunk. Now I want to add some detailing to the tree, so I'm taking some Nuvo Crystal Drops, and I'm using the red berry color. This color is beautiful. It's a beautiful bright red color, perfect for Christmas. So I'll go ahead and put this onto the tree to create little red baubles. And then I also stamped, heat embossed, and then die cut the little star. This is actually one of 2 different stars that's included in the Color Me Trees set. But I went ahead and colored that in with the yellow Zig marker and then added some Nuvo Golden Sunset glitter on top. So now it's time to go ahead and start creating our panel that this tree will sit on. This sentiment is from a stamp set I designed for Simon Says Stamp, which is called Happy Christmas. It has tons of really fun sentiments included in the set. This one in particular says, wishing you peace, love, hope, and joy this Christmas. I'm stamping that again in some Simon Says Stamp Clear ink, and then I'll go ahead and heat emboss this with that same white embossing powder that I used earlier for the trees. I'll go ahead and heat set that, and then next it's time to work on creating our background. Now, this is really fun because this background is a little bit more non-traditional than the normal sky background. I wanted this to have a really fun retro feel, but I also wanted it to be really bright and colorful, just like retro is. So I used a variety of Tim Holtz distress inks to go ahead and create a really beautiful background for my sky. Now again, with this retro theme in mind, this also is a little bit realistic. If you've ever taken a good look at certain sunsets, especially when the sky is completely clear of clouds, especially on the horizon, you'll notice that there's a really light golden color along the horizon line where the sun is starting to set. And then as it goes up in towards the top of the sky, you'll notice that the blue from the nighttime sky starts to blend into the yellow, and it creates a little bit of a greenish cast. It's really, really pretty. And then, of course, it gets gradually darker and darker as it goes up towards the top of the sky. Now, in this particular case, I wanted to create that same kind of effect. So I started off with Squeezed Lemonade, and now I'm bringing in Mermaid Lagoon. These are really bright colors because I thought they would look really good with the retro feel, but also lend towards that twilight feel of the card as well. I brought in some Blueprint Sketch towards the top, and I blended that into the Mermaid Lagoon, just darkening up the top portion of the sky a little bit. And then for my final color, I'll go ahead and bring in some Wilted Violet, and I'll really deepen up that top area of the card panel to get those colors really intense. Now, the other thing I did is I went back over top of the Blueprint Sketch, the Mermaid Lagoon, and the Squeezed Lemonade one more time before I finished off this panel. So you can see I've already done that here. And now I'm bringing in a piece of white cardstock that I die cut with a stitched hillside border die from Lawn Fawn. This is going to create my snowy hill, and I want to add some stitching detail along the edges to match the stitching detail that we have on the edges of our card panel. So I took that same Simon Says Stamp stitched rectangle die, applied it over top, kind of made sure I liked where it was going to fit over top of the stitched hillside borders, and then I'll go ahead and run that through my Big Shot machine. Here's that hillside border all die cut, and I'm going to now take some Tumbled Glass Distress ink and just quickly brush this along the very edge of the top of the snow hill. And that's just going to add a little bit of a halo to this and allow it to have that little bit of a shadow, which will help give this a bit of dimension. I wanted to stamp some snowflakes in the background, so I'm taking one of the snowflake images, or I guess it's a starburst, whatever you want it to be. I thought it was a snowflake, so I went ahead and used it as that. But I'm stamping these in the Simon Says Stamp clear ink onto my background. I made sure this was good and dry before I went ahead and applied my stamping and embossing powder over top because we did use distress ink, so they're a little bit wet. And I went ahead and heat set this, melting all of those little snowflakes into my sky. To build my scene, I'm taking some foam tape and applying it to the back side of my tree. I'll go ahead and pop this up on the left-hand side next to my sentiment. I need to figure out the placement to make sure that the tree's trunk will end up being hidden at the very bottom by the hillside border. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that hillside border in and just bring that tree down a little bit until it's going to be tucked behind that hillside border. I'm going to apply some more foam tape along the bottom portion of the panel, and that's where my hillside border is going to end up resting. I'll go ahead and pop that up there. Next, it's time to create our card base. I want something bright and fun, so I'm bringing in this diagonal stripe stamp from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to ink it up in some lipstick red ink, which is also from Simon. After I've inked up the stamp, I'm going to take my lipstick red card base, which is cut to an A2 sized card, and I'll go ahead and lay this down on top of those inked up diagonal stripes. I'm going to take a piece of scratch paper and lay this over top of my card panel so that way I can burnish it over top of my stamp, and that's going to help me make sure I don't get the back side of my card base dirty with the ink. And there you can see we have that really great diagonal stripe pattern on our card base. It's got a great subtle tone-on-tone effect, so it's not going to be distracting to the rest of our card, but it's just going to add a little bit of pop of color, tie in the red that we have on the tree, and just really add that nice bit of fun, bright retro feel to this card. I'm adding fun foam to the back side of my scene panel using some double-sided tape, and I'll go ahead and pop this up onto my card. Now, Pretty Pink Posh released some really great new sequins in their newest October release. And I'm using the Snowflakes here, which is one of their newest sequin packs, and I really love the iridescent ones. I thought they worked really well for the snowflakes in the background of this scene. I'm also applying some Spectrum Noir Clear Sparkle over top of the snow to add a little bit of shimmer and shine. And then I want to finally add a little bit of dotted snow in the background of my card just to kind of give the effect of different levels of snow in the sky. This adds a lot of depth to the background. And I'm using enamel accents here rather than the Nuvo drops because the Nuvo drops actually reactivate the Distress ink. So if I had used the white Nuvo drops on this, they would have ended up turning the different colors. They wouldn't have been a true bright white. The enamel accents don't reactivate, so I chose those instead, and I really love the result. So here's a look at the finished cards, super sparkly and shiny, and really fun retro feel. I hope this has inspired you to create some really fun cards using the new Simon Says stamp, Believe in the Season release. There's lots of fun products included in this release. This is just a few of some of the really cool stamps, dies, and inks that are included in this month's release. Now, if you're looking for more inspiration using the Believe in the Season release, I have 2 other cards up on my blog today that feature some of the new stamps and dies, so be sure to head on over to check that out. Here's a sneak peek of one that I used with some really beautiful poinsettias, and then I used a really fun snowflake die to create this really fun card that has a really bright and bold feel to it. There's also going to be a blog hop tomorrow, October 21st, where a lot of really fun designers will be joining in to share lots of inspiration featuring the new Simon Says stamp release. I'll be one of the stops, so be sure to head on back over to my blog tomorrow to check that out. There will, of course, be prizes available, lots of inspiration and fun along the way. I hope I'll be seeing you again tomorrow. In the meantime, here's another video you might like that I've posted recently featuring Simon Says stamp exclusive products. Please give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can connect with me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, as well as my blog. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.